Good evening, everybody. It's Monday night, Al.
Hi, Mo.
How you doing over there?
I missed you this weekend.
I missed you too.
You had yourself. I actually had myself a nice weekend, but you did too.
It was a nice weekend.
Will you
It was a
tell
good weekend.
Tell the folks where you were.
Are you moving over here?
I'm moving
Closer to you,
yeah.
Closer to the deal here. Was in DC over the weekend. Welcome everyone. Hello. Carly B, Slurica, Kim Art. They're all coming in right now, Al.
Everyone's coming
Letitia. Good evening. Happy Met Gala night, folks. Leah saying Met Gala real-time coverage, please, Alex.
So Leah, my family was over, so I was cooking.
Yeah.
I cooked dinner. Well, yeah, you were here.
Yeah.
So I had my family over, so I was cooking all night. And then literally they just left. So
right.
I had 10 minutes.
We had family night here.
I had 10 minutes. What did I make, Mo?
You made chicken. You did like taco night. So we had you did grilled peppers, you did cauliflower, you had rice, you had chicken, we had hard tacos, soft shell tacos.
Big time. So
it was a nice little taco situation
I finally
tonight.
got to just, for 10 minutes, look at all the dresses. So we actually, if you want, Mosh, you could start bringing some of that up. So we could talk. You want to talk?
I could talk about that, but everyone right now is asking about Roe v Wade. Roe v Wade right now. Yeah. There's breaking news.
So Leah, I'm sorry, Leah. You'll have to wait on the Met Gala. We can talk about that in a few.
So we'll talk about Met Gala in a second. All of you are talking about the Supreme Court, Politico exclusive, pulling it up. Supreme Court has voted to overturn abortion rights. Draft opinion shows we hold that Roe and Casey must be overruled. Justice Alito writes in an initial majority draft circulated inside the. This is rare, folks. There's breaking news tonight at Politico. There are never leaks from the Supreme Court, El. This is pretty remarkable.
I see Jill Wagner joined us. Hi, Jill.
Hey, Jill. Hey, everyone. So we're trying to take in right now, in the last 30 minutes, the Supreme Court, the Politico has posted a story out of the Supreme Court that has voted to strike down Roe v. Wade, according to a draft majority opinion. The draft opinion is full-throated, unflinching repudiation of the 1973 decision, which guaranteed federal constitutional protections of abortion, and the 1992 decision. Yeah, guys, it's a pretty big deal. Not surprising, but a big deal. It's a big deal that a draft has been leaked. Roe was egregiously wrong from the start, Alito writes. We hold that Roe and Casey must be overruled. It is time to heed the Constitution, yada, yada, yada. Deliberations on controversial cases have in the past been fluid. Remember, justices can change their votes through the debate, and so they'll circulate draft opinions. And the way the Supreme Court works is ultimately the justices read the draft opinions, and they're like, oh, you know what, Justice X makes a good point. I'm going to join the majority, or I'm going to join, et cetera, et cetera. And so this is pretty remarkable because the Supreme Court is pretty close-knit in terms of they don't leak. Congress leaks, the White House leaks, everyone leaks. Supreme Court's very close-knit. You'll have clerks. Each justice has clerks.
Jill asked, does this seem legit?
Yeah, it seems legit. I mean, Politico doesn't just... They're not going to run with this breaking news story off a draft opinion unless they really have it. I mean, it'd be pretty remarkable if this somehow but the fact that a draft just got leaked is pretty remarkable.
Call me Carly B says, who has access to these docs that could leak them?
There's some staff at the Supreme Court and then clerks. The clerks typically, are sworn to secrecy.
Crisp T says, I thought they didn't overturn previous decisions. I thought they sometimes voted differently on new cases.
Yeah, so this is a language thing. You overturn a precedent. You can't overturn a previous decision. But you overturn the precedent from that decision. So in shorthand, you say they overturned Roe v. Wade. Technically speaking, they overturned the precedent of Roe v. Wade. But ultimately, this is a new case. This came out of the Mississippi case, presumably. Mississippi has banned abortion after 15 weeks. And I did a discussion earlier this year with Jen Crawford, the chief legal correspondent at CBS, who was saying, based on the arguments, she thought that they might go total overturn of the precedent of Roe v. Wade. What that means, Sarah T. Reed, is that, yes, ultimately it has now become a states' rights issue. If your state makes abortion legal, this is basically what the world was like before 1973. It was legal in some states, it was illegal in other states. And so now we will have a different rule in every single state, every state to themselves. There are a bunch of states that have confirmed this, right? There's a bunch of states that have trigger laws that if this goes into effect, they would trigger that the abortion would get banned. These are in a lot of red states. And so ultimately, you'll look at, actually, if you guys will roll with me here, hold on one second. If I pull up this map and text it to myself, which I'll do in a second, Al, stand by.
Do you want me to ask you questions while this is...
Yeah, that'd be good. Hold on. Because I'm going to pull up a map of what happens to state abortion policy.
Magic Mike just said, this is effing bullshit.
Guys, this is why elections matter. This is why in 2016 things particularly mattered. This is why 2020 mattered. But in 2016, Trump ultimately got 3 picks. Presumably Hillary wins in 2016.
So
she would have gotten a couple picks.
For people who just joined us, can you just explain what's happening?
So guys, there's a breaking news story tonight, which we don't always have on Monday nights. Thank you guys for asking about it. A draft policy, decision by the Supreme Court that has been leaked to Politico shows that the Supreme Court, when it rules, typically decisions come out the last week of June. Typically, the biggest decisions come those last couple of days of June.
Why?
It has ruled, it's just tradition at the court to release its biggest decisions of the year, the last 2 weeks of June, that they have a majority of the court. It's looking like 5-4 right now. Based on this draft, looks like Roberts is voting to uphold, or at least is not a part of this. I'll take a look in a second. I just want to send myself this map. Hold on, let me text this to myself. This is, all right, I'm back here. Let me see if this works. Okay, you see this map here? This is state abortion policy absent Roe v. Wade. The purple states would uphold Roe v. Wade. The orange states, bright orange states, have trigger laws that would ban all or nearly all abortions when this decision comes out. The light orange states have pre-Roe ban on abortions, but of course, Oklahoma, Texas, we've been following those laws of late. And then it appears you have the rest of those states in white.
Why is that like previous decisions that were made in those states? Like why?
So the bright orange are states that have said, if the court was to overturn the precedent of Roe, we then ban abortion. Those are trigger laws. Those lighter orange states basically had laws on the books pre-Roe v. Wade 1973, banning abortion. And of course, Texas, Oklahoma are some of the states that have most recently passed new stuff. Mississippi has a 15-month. So basically, this is what the union in terms of abortion looks like. The white states are unclear. Ultimately, folks, when would this go into effect? Well, we were expecting this decision last week of June, and then that would go into effect right after. Remember when the court 10 years ago, upheld the gay marriage right, and immediately that went into effect.
Court thing?
Sorry?
What does Amy wants to overturn?
Amy Coney Barrett is a conservative. Presumably she voted with, let's look here.
Because Leah, for example, said the men who wrote the Constitution 300 years ago didn't know abortion was a thing. Supreme Court want us to live like it's 1776. By that rule, half the court would be able to serve on the court.
Okay, so right now it's looking like 5 justices, including Amy Coney Barrett, are part of the majority. That's Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, and Alito. It does not appear Justice Roberts, who's a conservative, was appointed by Bush, is a part of this. It's unclear whether he'll concur or whatever, but remember, you have 6 conservatives on the court. Even if Roberts doesn't vote for it, there's 5 conservatives in favor. As far as the Constitution is concerned, abortion's not in the Constitution. Mm-hmm. So what you got to do in the Supreme Court is ultimately you have to make a decision based on this document from 1789 that has been 1781 that's been updated several times, right? Even the original Constitution didn't have the Bill of Rights in it. The First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Third Amendment, that all came subsequent to the initial Constitution. We're now at 26 or 27 amendments over time. Remember, we had an amendment to the Constitution that banned liquor. Then we had an amendment to the Constitution that made liquor legal again. We've had a whole bunch of amendments to the Constitution. Ultimately, the court decides things. A big issue for conservatives for a long time is there's no right to an abortion in the Constitution. We're originalists. We don't think that's the right way to do it. So there's been folks, even some folks who are pro-choice, they don't believe that the fact that it was done by a court and not by Congress. Now, Congress has the ability, folks, to make abortion legal. Congress can pass a law. That's the purview of Congress, the same way states can pass laws. The Supreme Court is basically saying here, we're out. If this draft is to be believed, that has been released tonight by someone, presumably, with access to it, has given the draft to Politico. We're about 8 weeks before when we thought we would get this ruling. And so ultimately, this is where we're at. Let me just see what else is in the story right now. The 3 Democratic appointed justices, Breyer, Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, are working on dissents. It's unclear how Justice Roberts, the Chief Justice, will vote. This is all the document labeled as the first draft of the majority opinion, includes a notation that it was circulated on February 10th. So again, this is a February 10th draft. They go through multiple drafts. Sometimes justices change opinions, but we assume this based on the arguments that given the court is now 6-3 conservative, and they don't believe, many of them don't believe that there is a right to an abortion in the Constitution. The Supreme Court is saying we're out here, at least the conservative majority.
Men wrote the Constitution. So KG just said, conservative men have no business making decisions about what happens in my uterus.
In this case, you have conservative men and one conservative woman, Amy Coney Barrett.
Jill Wagner says, think this will backfire on GOP. Most Americans are in favor of upholding Roe v. Wade. That's
true. So if you look at polling, and I included a poll over the weekend on abortion rights. Actually, guys, if you roll with me here, let me stop sharing. These are the trigger laws. Let me stop sharing this. I'm going to go and pull up recent polling on abortion. I think I posted on Friday, Al. Do you remember this? I was on the train to D.C., and I feel like I saw this. Hold on one second. Thanks for rolling with here, folks. So I did polling.
This is like real breaking news on Mondays with Mo.
Yeah, this is like a whole breaking news situation. I appreciate you guys rolling with this. Let's see. Here we go. Hidden tribes, polling. Okay, so hold on. Gun laws. Here's abortion. Okay, folks. Here's how Americans feel about abortion over the course of the entirety of Roe v. Wade. There's always been about 50% of Americans who believe abortion should be legal under certain circumstances. We're also at the point now where we're at 49% under any circumstances, and there's about 8% of America, as of last year, that believes that it should be illegal in all circumstances. Those are Democrats. Sorry, let me split this by party. Democrats are basically 90% either any or all. 8% of Democrats say it should be banned, illegal under all. Republicans, 59% believe it should be legal under certain circumstances. 27% believe it should be illegal in all circumstances, and 13% say it should be legal under any. So let me translate that to you. 72% of Republicans believe it should be legal under some or all circumstances. Only a quarter of Republicans and 8% of Democrats believe it should be illegal in all circumstances. Add that up, you're basically at a third of the country believes it should be illegal in all. 2/3 of the country, including majority of Republicans and Democrats, believe it should be legal in at least some circumstances. Now, if you get specific, is it rape or incest? Is it 6 weeks? Is it 15 weeks? Is it 24 weeks? Etc. But those are your numbers there, which goes to show you that, right now, the fact that the Supreme Court is saying we step out, it's going to be to every state. You're going to have to advocate in your state. If you believe abortion should be legal, it's an issue for your state legislature.
Okay, Sherry Dooley 30 says, those who are for freedom want to actually take away our freedoms.
I mean, as far as anti-abortion activists would tell you, that they believe that, they believe every fetus has a right to live, and so that's why they've advocated that way for a very long time. As far as the Supreme Court's concerned, the conservatives believe that it was wrongly ruled in 1973, and that it's a state by state issue, and the court should have never gotten involved in abortion.
Magic Mike says, as a male, I don't think I or any other man should have any say in what women choose to do with their own body. Call me crazy. You are not in my. I know you don't really. You split the. You're really down the middle, Mo, here. But I just But I completely agree with you, Magic Mike.
Yeah. Listen. At the end of the day, a woman's body is a woman's body, and
at the end of the day, if you are raped, you're going to be forced to keep this kid.
In certain states,
it's
yes.
It's so sad. There are poor people who can't make it out of their state. They can't even afford a bus to go to wherever the hell now they have to go. It's just absurd.
Yeah. It's one thing that they brought up is that these pills that are now available, you don't necessarily need to go to an abortion clinic, and so some folks have been saying that those are more widely available these days.
Women don't know that they're pregnant.
Yeah.
Until 2-3 months in.
Yeah.
A lot of women have crazy cycles. They don't know.
Yeah. No, it's going to be very. We're in unprecedented times here, folks. I mean, if this draft is right, it does give an indication of something that we thought was happening or was going to be happening at the end of June.
I will say, Moshe, that I think that if this ends up happening,
what do you think is going to happen?
Where they vote that this should happen, then I think people wouldn't elect Trump. This is going to bring so many people to the polls.
I mean, listen, the ruling is the ruling, and the question is, even if people go to the polls, well, I guess this is the way to think about it.
Yeah.
Let me think about this aloud, guys. Yeah. So forgive me, the story breaking this hour, that a draft Supreme Court ruling overturning the precedent of Roe v. Wade has been circulating in the court. Not surprising, the court is a 6-3 conservative majority per this draft from early February. This is Politico reporting tonight. The 5-member majority, Alito, Thomas, Amy Coney Barrett, Kavanaugh, and Gorsuch, are part of a majority that will rule that Roe v. Wade was wrongly ruled. There's no right to abortion in the Constitution, and they're kicking it to the states. When that ruling, presumably, is going to be, I imagine what you got through the court tonight, is no comment, because they don't comment on leaks. Leaks are unprecedented. It's pretty bombshell that when this comes out end of June, we go to a situation where trigger laws start to take effect, every state for themselves. If you're in a very blue state, I showed the map up earlier, abortion is protected in the Constitution, or will be. If you're in a red state, there's trigger laws. There is a thing that could happen, which is Congress can rule on this, and Biden could enshrine a right to an abortion in the Constitution by law. It would need to pass both the House and the Senate. You don't have a filibuster-proof majority in the Senate, so how they would have to deal with it would be interesting. But effectively, U.S. Congress does have the ability, and so to your point, Al, in terms of bringing people to polls, you would need such a wave of Democratic pro-choice voters to come out,
I think you would,
and then elect enough senators and have the Dems hold Congress in the fall in order to pass this legislation if it cannot be passed before November. I'm going to look up here what it would take.
I think this is such a hot button issue for women. With the pink pussy hats, whatever that, it is going to be wild. Okay, Wald said, can Biden do anything about this? And then Alex Shapiro, said, or the federal government.
Can who do what?
Can Biden do anything about this, or the federal government?
So you can't, there's no executive order. I guess they could think about it, but I don't see an ability to have an executive order that allows you to basically make abortion legal. I'm pulling up a story here that in February, end of February, the Senate voted 46-48. It went down to block a bill that Democrats wanted to codify abortion rights into the federal law. Legislation needed 60 votes to overcome the filibuster and would have fallen short of 50 votes needed for passage. By the way, Joe Manchin joined Republicans there. In this case, Bob Casey, the exceptions of Manchin and Casey. 6 senators didn't vote. Supreme Court reconsidering the fate. Legislation passed the House. So the House has already passed a law to codify abortion, a right to abortion in the by law. The Senate doesn't have the votes right now, folks. And so there's 26 states that will now get triggered to restrict abortion outright or to a major extent when presumably this ruling is accurate and it stays. And there's not, and remember, the Supreme Court has internal debates, right? You're basically playing a game of Red Rover here. It's like, well, we just wrote this opinion. Like, are you convinced by our opinion based on the law here? You have a couple new justices, right? Gorsuch is relatively new. Kavanaugh is relatively new. Barrett is relatively new. In this case, they, at least at this point, if the majority opinion has those 5, it would take really something for one of them to be pulled away from that ruling. And so that's where we're at. As far as the Senate is concerned, Senate races in the fall. So
wait, someone just said, I'm late. Where is the origin of the other voice speaking? So you can just explain who I am.
Oh, hey, welcome to everyone who's watching tonight as we approach 9:30. So I'm Moshe. My wife, Alex, at Alsol, is just behind me, behind this camera over here, curating your questions. Shall you want to come say hi? Hi, everyone. Hey, hi.
Hi, everyone.
That's Al.
It's a bad night, though. I mean, this is a crazy.
Well, it's a crazy breaking news night. So Senate races in 2022. Here we go. I'm pulling up a story here. You would need to have 60 Senate Democrats who all support enshrining abortion in the Constitution. Joe Manchin does not. Bob Casey sat this one out in Pennsylvania. So, ultimately, folks, this is a pretty significant ruling, one that folks who are watching the Supreme Court are not surprised by. What is surprising is that it's leaked 8 weeks early, a draft of a ruling. I haven't seen this in a very long time.
Is rolling in her grave right now.
Elections matter. When somebody retires matters. There are a lot of people who are frustrated with RBG, that she didn't retire during the Obama administration, that she insisted on continuing on. And what that meant is that Donald Trump became president and she got replaced by a conservative.
Wilton Whippoorwill says, I'm all for choice, but don't think this should be a government issue. It's a medical and elective procedure unless medically necessary or unusual circumstances, rape, incest, health of mom, etc.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of folks who are very upset about this.
Said, it's also important to consider that women who are grieving miscarriage are told that they're just grieving a clump of cells. Something to think about in how we care for women.
This is going to be really remarkable in kind of how we watch this thing unfold, guys, and how this ruling impacts things. I mean, I've been surprised until now, actually, that we haven't really seen a lot of activism around this. I think people were also preparing to do it in May and June around the ruling. I think somebody brought up here, like who leaked this? What's the purpose of the leak? I mean, the purpose of the leak might be someone internally who is so concerned about it, willing to lose their job over this, to get it out there and try to have public opinion sway the justices. Officially, justices should not be swayed by public opinion, right? Officially, the justices are looking at the Constitution, and they're interpreting the Constitution, and they're ruling according to the Constitution. But you'd be like completely...
Who wrote the Constitution was all men.
Correct. A land-owning white men in the 1700s. Well, and there's been amendments over time. But yes, we have a system that was put into place 230 years ago. What's interesting as we think about this is the Supreme Court is supposed to rule based on the Constitution, but by the way, some of them certainly take the public interest. They're citizens of America. They watch the news. They see how people react to things. I would imagine, depending on the reaction over the course of the next 8 weeks, there's reaction they could see on the streets that could potentially impact how the decisions get made. So that's a fascinating kind of subplot here of this leak, which is things don't get leaked typically. But in this case, somebody on the court, somebodies, have decided to leak this draft and make the public aware with about 7 weeks to go of what the court is likely to do at the end of June. How America reacts to that, how you all react to that, is going to be fascinating to watch, and presumably will be watched by the justices of the Supreme Court. And that'll be the interesting thing that unfolds here, Al, over the course of the next 7 weeks, before the court typically rolls out its major rulings that last week of June.
KG said, aren't there major primaries tomorrow?
So we have primaries in Ohio tomorrow. And where else? Ohio is the main Senate primary tomorrow. But again, they're primaries, which means if you're a Democrat, you vote for the Democratic side. If you're Republican, you vote for the Republican side. And then you have an election in November. And we're going to talk about the Ohio thing in a little bit. Go
Noah
ahead.
Rosen said, what can be done? The country is screwed, right?
What can be done? The country, I mean, that's a very dark way to view things. But do I have a bunch of bots tonight? I'm trying to block all these people, guys.
Moshe, why don't you make me a moderator so I can block them?
So you can block all the people just like randomly saying stuff. Okay, hold on 1 second. If I do this, that's not it. If I do this,
It's
that's
kind
not
of,
it.
you know,
If I do this,
it's kind of nice. It's nice having what you have, this amazing community, to hear everybody's viewpoints.
Totally.
So we're not in our bubble to hear what other people think. And I think a large portion of your community right now are not happy with this.
The people watching live right now are not happy.
People watching live right now.
Well, you know, it's interesting because ultimately, you know, we put up the polling earlier. Al, I've added you as a moderator, by the way.
Thank
You. The majority of America, Republicans and Democrats, believe abortion should be legal under some circumstances. And so ultimately, you know, it would make sense that the majority of people on the chat tonight are unhappy with this decision. Ultimately, it's going to be left to all 50 states as to what they're going to do about abortion law. Politico has a story tonight, folks, just tuning in, with a draft of the majority opinion presumably set to come out last week of June, which is going to overturn the precedent set by Roe V Wade of a right to an abortion. At least 5 conservatives on the court, it's 5-4 majority, believe that it was wrongly ruled, and they're going to kick this to the states. And so there's a handful of states that have already enshrined it. There's a whole bunch of states, 26 of them, that will now have trigger laws that will ban, following this ruling, abortion in some or all circumstances. This is why you've seen a bunch of states go in that direction recently. We were watching Idaho, we were watching Oklahoma, we were watching Texas, etc. And so ultimately, we've been watching all of that. We're not surprised by how the court was going to rule here. We are surprised that it's been leaked. And what's fascinating about all of this is that a lot of bots tonight. Crazy. How the public reacts over the next 7 weeks will be fascinating. And the court typically is still, they will have votes in sessions and circulate drafts and drafts and drafts. And sometimes the justices change their opinions. And, you know, we'll see what goes down here.
Thank you, Magic Mike. That's true.
What did Magic Mike say?
But, like, Moshe is here to report the facts, and, like, once in a blue moon, I'll give my opinion. Okay.
What happened?
So, for a subject like this, for example, Sarah says, any other major decisions overturned like this before?
Sure. I mean, typically, you've seen the Supreme Court overturn major decisions over time, whether it's Brown versus the Board of Education, overturning Dred Scott. I mean, you've seen a lot of those major decisions that have overturned precedent when it comes to race in this country, when it comes to various rights in this country. Let's see. Let's pull up biggest Supreme Court
While
overturn.
you say this, Regan just says, contact your closest political party, ask what action they're taking. If you align with it, ask how you can help. They'll put you to work. Volunteer is always needed. You do have power.
So here's an interesting story. The Supreme Court overturned precedent dozens of times in the past 60 years, including segregation, legal segregation, which, of course, the court for many years legalized segregation. And then the court 100 years later was like, yeah, that's a terrible decision. This does only happen in, not that many cases. The court has reversed its own constitutional precedents only 145 times, 0.5%. There have been more than 25,000 Supreme Court opinions over 130 years. and it's reversed its constitutional precedents 145 times, 0.5%. To Ainsley's point, progressive overturning versus regressive overturning. In this case, when you talk about overturning, the court has moved in a more progressive way on things. In this case, many people would feel that this is a regressive way for the court to move, based on the fact that this has been out there for like 50 years. Go ahead, Elle.
Jill says, surprised by Kavanaugh and ACB. They've both alluded to upholding precedent.
Yeah, but precedent, depending on whether you believe that precedent was rightfully ruled. In this case, they believe that the precedent set by the 1973 court, which was a liberal-leaning court, was wrongfully decided, and so they have a chance to make it right as far as they're concerned. That the Supreme Court, as far as they're concerned, has no role in deciding the legality of abortion. That to them is a legislative right that is done in states or done by the U.S. Congress.
Aileen Morissi says, what could happen to the person who leaked this?
I imagine they could be fired. I mean, I don't know what the rule is.
Figure that out? How can they find out who?
I don't know. I mean, call the IT department of the Supreme Court and figure out who is accessing the draft and check their cell phone records. This is a big deal. This is a big deal inside the court if they can't trust. I mean, the court rules on major things. The fact that the court has these leaks, pretty remarkable, guys. What else do we got on this? What other questions do we have?
Yeah, and by the way, Wilden Whippoorwill, I want everyone's opinion here. Everyone's opinion matters,
yeah.
That's why.
So I'm pulling up SCOTUS blog, who, if anyone's on Twitter, SCOTUS blog tracks everything in a very nonpartisan way. Mm-hmm. Here's the tweet from just about 29 minutes ago. It is impossible to overstate the earthquake this will cause inside the court in terms of the destruction of trust among the justices and staff. This leak is the gravest, most unforgivable sin. That is how it will be viewed inside the Supreme Court. The document leaked to Politico is almost certainly an authentic draft opinion by Alito that reflects what he believes. At least 5 members of the court have voted to support overruling Roe. But as Alito's draft, it does not reflect the comments or reaction of the other justices. Question, SCOTUS blog asked tonight, will the outrage among supporters of Roe, reflected in a massive amount of written commentary on every detailed Alito draft majority opinion in the coming weeks, become the ultimate crowdsourced draft dissent? America, if you dissent, you have many means to dissent, both in public, both on social media, etc. And so let me...
Will you send me a link or what? Tell me what it is.
At SCOTUS blog, SCOTUS blog. SCOTUS blog on Twitter is a great account to follow for all things Supreme Court. It's one of the accounts, I think they have about 500,000 followers. That is one of the nice things on Twitter, because Twitter's a nasty place. And so we'll see what happens with that. But I'm just trying to kind of crowdsource this in real time. Neil Katyal, Supreme Court lawyer, former acting Solicitor General. Let's see. He has a thread tonight. Neil Katyal is NEAL_KATYAL. I've quickly scanned the draft opinion. It appears legitimate. This means there was a preliminary vote to fully overrule the Roe v. Wade precedent, and the majority of the court agreed. There are lots of signals the opinion is legit. The length and depth of analysis would be very hard to fake. It says it is written by Alito. Definitely sounds like him. It's 60 pages long. If this is a deep fake, it would require a state actor or someone like that. I cannot imagine that. It goes on to say, let's keep going here. It is possible the court could pull back from this position, but this looks like they voted that way after the oral argument. So keep in mind, after the arguments in the Mississippi case, which was banning abortion after 15 weeks, the justices come out of that argument and they take a vote. They get in a room and they're like, okay, what are you guys thinking? What are you guys thinking? And then ultimately they draft opinions, the majority and the minority. And in both cases, you might have a justice who's like, I agree with that, but for different reasons, so I'm going to write my own concurring opinion. Or I disagree with the ruling based on my reasons, so I'm going to write my own concurring ruling. So you could ultimately, in any case, have a number of opinions, some with the majority, some with the minority. Jailene talks about what is the motive for leaking this. It could be that someone was really upset and they want to create public uproar and they think that this is a way to get one of the justices to move the other way. That's one. I can't read into the mind of the leaker here, but the leak itself is pretty disturbing. Al, what else do we got here? What are people saying?
I mean, there's a lot of people.
It's pretty remarkable timing tonight.
Yeah, an incredible turnout tonight, and there are a lot of people who are upset, and then there are some people who are not. What he says, so when are we mobilizing?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Supreme Court's 9 people. 5 of them have decided, it appears, at least initially decided, that there is no right to an abortion in the Constitution. Despite the 1973 decision, we are 49 years since that decision. But Neil Katyal, who's a legal scholar, has argued before the court, this is the equivalent of the Pentagon Papers leak, but at the Supreme Court. I'm pretty sure there has never been such a leak, and certainly not in the years I've been following the Supreme Court. Katyal then goes on to say, sorry, one last thing for those wondering about court procedure. After oral argument, the justices take a tentative vote. This would have happened in December. The senior most justice in the majority gets to assign the opinion. That might have been Roberts, but doubtful since Alito wrote this draft. Now, once the draft is circulated, the justices in dissent will write an opinion. That is happening now. The tentative vote seems strong, and Chief Justice is irrelevant if 4 plus Alito hold their tentative votes. So there is a possibility an opinion can flip after oral argument and the tentative vote, so it's theoretically powerful the Alito opinion won't be the vote of the court, but it would require a justice besides Roberts to flip. So someone has to flip, presumably since Alito wrote it, he wouldn't flip. Clarence Thomas is probably not going to flip. And then you're left with Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Barrett making up the 5. But the comparison to the Pentagon Papers is legit. This is an incredible leak 8 weeks, presumably, before we were going to... Anyway, everyone's calling this like Troll Central tonight.
I'm trying to get them all out.
You get bigger, and then the people join. Anyway.
Okay. Joe says, please cover that this overturning doesn't outlaw abortion, it just kicks it back to the states for Congress to vote on legislation. Yeah, we've been saying that tonight. I'll pull up the map again. This is your country post Roe v. Wade. Ultimately, the purple states have enshrined legal abortion. The orange states have some portion of trigger laws that would ban nearly or all abortions. The white states don't have trigger laws, and we'll see what goes down in those states. Well, did you change that picture behind there to my mom?
Your mother.
You could never let my mom into the apartment. Yeah. She changes everything around.
But to Mel's credit, she came around. She's like, I made some changes. Let me know what you think.
Did everybody's mom or dad, anyone do that in your life? My mom always moves shit around. Okay.
All right.
Do you want me to continue on?
Yeah, let's keep talking abortion a little longer, and then we'll get to some other topics. I feel like there's a lot of people here with a lot of questions. What else do we have here?
GN0730 says, it's so sad because the next step is to start to mess with IVF.
Where do we think IVF, that they would ban IVF in some way?
And then Yasmin said, I fear gay marriage is next.
No, gay marriage is solid, guys. You don't have to worry about gay marriage overturning. It's a different situation.
Okay, Yasmin says, I'm an American now living in Canada. Most conservatives here believe in a women's right to choose. It's weird being an outsider looking into American politics.
There's a lot of people outside this country that look at this country and it's unique. But even the fight for legal abortion has been a fight in other countries recently. Argentina just legalized it. Mexico, I know there was a fight. I think Poland took it back, right? Poland abortion. I feel like we were tracking that story last year. In Poland, 1 year after the ruling in Poland's Constitutional Tribunal banning access to abortion. Anyway, Poland just basically did the same thing last year.
So, Lovely Ginger was saying that IVF throws away fertilized eggs all the time. That egg now will have rights, is what she was
So somebody might, I think, guys, again, I'm going to pull up a legal scholar on this, but like that ultimately, I don't know, Jill's watching. We'll probably need to drill into this for the Wednesday newsletter.
For sure.
And what this means. So let's put the existing topic we're going to do on Wednesday on the table and go into abortion. But ultimately, the court is saying here, folks, that the court should not be involved in these decisions. That's a state law decision. I haven't seen any states that are trying to ban IVF. Have you? I can certainly look into this. But anyway. So anyway, basically what's happening here is that ultimately, I'll take the picture off, stop sharing, is that the Supreme Court saying, keep us out of abortion, keep us out of this whole thing. It's an issue for Congress and ultimately and state legislatures, and it's not our business,
Jill says she's on it, by the way.
Jill's always on it.
So just to show another person's perspective, I just got to comment another perspective.
Yeah.
It's wrong to take, so Jen KD1 says it's wrong to take an innocent human life. Abortion does that. There are no other issues we solve in this country by taking an innocent human life. Let's use this opportunity to support women and baby. So that is her opinion.
Yeah. So that represents... about a third of the country believes that abortion should be banned under all circumstances. And, another part of the country believes that abortion should be legal under certain circumstances.
Danny Carlo says, on your map that you had about the states, what would be the implications for the states that were blank in the diagram?
Those states do not have immediate laws tied to a Supreme Court decision, meaning they could go either way after the Supreme Court decision. If you're in one of those states that are white, ultimately it'll be up to your state legislature to determine the state's abortion policy. For the person who asked how did or why did the Supreme Court rule initially the way it did in 1973 in the Roe v. Wade decision? Keep in mind this is a 7-2 decision, 7 majority, 2 minority, and they ruled that the due process clause of the 14th Amendment includes a right to privacy that protects a pregnant woman's right to choose whether to have an abortion. It also ruled that this right is not absolute. It must be balanced against the government's interest in protecting women's health and prenatal life. The court resolved this balancing test by tying state regulation of abortion to 3 trimesters of pregnancy. During the first trimester, governments could not prohibit abortions at all. Second trimester, they could use reasonable health regulations. So that ultimately is the rationale that the court in 1972, the Roe v. Wade decision, was a woman's right to privacy. They found a right to privacy. Now, conservatives for many years have taken issue with that ruling and were critical of it, saying that was judicial activism, that the court found a right to privacy where there was none in the 14th Amendment. And that, of course, has been how they contested for the past 50 years. So that's what we know about that. There was a 1992 decision called Planned Parenthood versus Casey, v. Casey. That would presumably, in this case, also, that precedent would be overturned in this case, the precedent of Roe and the precedent of Planned Parenthood, that reaffirmed Roe's holding that women's right to choose to have an abortion is constitutionally protected, but they took out the trimester framework in favor of fetal viability. Now, of course, over time, based on medical progress, fetuses have become viable at an earlier stage of pregnancy than 1972. So the 23 weeks that was set up in 1972, over time, more premature infants, medical technology has evolved, and so it's, you could have a viable fetus, or a fetus could survive, and that has bolstered the argument of conservatives over time that the fetuses can be more viable with medical technology, so we should be curtailing it back. Hence Mississippi's case here that they brought to the Supreme Court in December that abortion should be banned after 15 weeks. The Supreme Court has a choice of just going with the Mississippi argument and moving it to 15. In this case, Supreme Court, at least 5 justices, it appears, have ruled we're getting out of this completely. We're getting out of the abortion debate. We're getting out of the right to privacy thing. It's for the states to decide.
Sunflowers in your hair. What a beautiful handle says. Yes. Why doesn't the Supreme Court take the medical community into account when making decisions? The medical community oftentimes sees the fetus/embryo without emotions. The
Supreme Court has decided, more significantly, to just say legally, this is not our business. It's up to states. States can pass laws, whatever they want, and a right to abortion, we don't as a court want to rule on it. In fact, we want to get ourselves out of it completely.
S. Miller says, so the legal precedent doesn't play in the Supreme Court?
No, legal precedent always plays a role here, but in this case, they think the precedent was wrong. So they're overturning the precedent, which has happened, 100-something cases in Supreme Court history.
People are asking about how this relates to gun laws. There is the Hebrew Jaffe says there is a serious challenge to local gun laws everywhere out of New York, so you will probably be able to have a gun in New York City in the coming months.
Hebrew Jaffe. There is a case that's a gun rights case. Remember, that's Second Amendment. That's a different case altogether. But keep in mind, guys, the court is now 6-3 conservative. This is the first time in a very long time, nearly a century, we have a majority conservative court. Remember, FDR was president for like a long time and appointed a whole bunch of liberal justices. And if you look at the court, there's been there was a more liberal court for many, many years, and then it basically became a swing court. For many years, you had Senator Day O'Connor and then Anthony Kennedy as swing votes. It was a pretty moderate situation. Then, of course, you have a situation in recent years where Trump got 3 picks. 1 pick because McConnell wouldn't let Obama have his pick for a year in 2016. That pick becomes Gorsuch. Then you have Kavanaugh. Then you have Barrett. And in this case, most significantly, Barrett replaces Ruth Bader Ginsburg, which then swings the court. So you're going to be seeing a whole bunch of cases over the course of the next, decade until you see someone like Clarence Thomas. He's probably the oldest. He's the oldest conservative on the court. Step down or pass away. I mean, and then a Democratic president would presumably have an opportunity to replace. But given the state of the Senate right now, it's going to be very hard to do that unless you also, you have a Democratic president and Democratic Senate, and a conservative justice dies or leaves the court or retires for some reason for medical issues or whatever issues. But this is rocking the Supreme Court. The fact that there's a leak from the Supreme Court is pretty incredible.
Emma Hopkins Shield says, can you explain why illegal abortion can be so harmful? Who it will impact the most? It is so crazy to me. So I saw on Broadway many moons ago, Spring Awakening, which is actually premiering on May 3rd on HBO Max. And it is about an illegal abortion. And it's crazy with Jonathan Groff and Leah Michelle. And I urge everyone to see it when it comes out.
Spring Awakening.
Incredible show. And to this point, to Emma's point, can you explain why illegal abortion can be so harmful? Who will it impact the most?
I mean, the concern among a lot of people in the abortion rights community is that people who are impoverished or don't have the money or are working hourly jobs and aren't able to take a bus or a train to another state would be the ones most impacted by this. And unfortunately, that would be the situation if those women are seeking an abortion and don't have the financial means or any means to be able to do that. So ultimately, that's the. Sorry, I'm just trying to process all of this right now. This is a true bombshell for everyone. For the country, in terms of what's going to happen. Kim Art Design says, it would disproportionately impact BIPOC women. Absolutely. And so ultimately, Regan says, situational means not always financial. That's also a case. Like you don't have childcare or you don't, again, financial, it's family, it's, there's a whole bunch of folks who've done a bunch of studies related to this. And you've already been seeing it play out in Texas.
So many studies.
Yeah.
So many studies.
Yeah.
Which I hope you'll have in your newsletter.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into all this stuff.
Lord.
So this really reshapes midterms. I mean, and ultimately, what else do we have here? Yeah. I'm scrolling Twitter right now.
Okay. I mean, the comments, Mosh, the amount of comments that you're getting from it's heated.
People can't take off work. S. Miller says, let's call it what it is, forced birth. Yeah, I don't see a scenario where they come from marriage equality, folks. For the people who are concerned about the gay marriage situation, I'm seeing a lot of that on Twitter.
Jamie Brill says, how do they determine who will write the majority and minority opinions?
It's the most senior member who is feeling that way. So in this case, maybe Thomas is senior, but he's decided to write his own concurring opinion. So in this case, this is a majority draft written by Alito. So it depends. They take that initial vote. They determine based on that vote, okay, it's 5-4, 6-3, 7-2. Who's the most senior member of that side? And then that person either says, I'll do it, or it gets assigned in some way. In some cases, they might take it for themselves, or they might assign it to somebody else.
Okay. Is there anything that you want to get to that you haven't gotten tonight? We can go back to this subject.
I think we stay with this.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Does anyone want to discuss anything else or have any questions besides this that were not addressed yet? And if not, we will continue with this. It's just hard for you to. Do you want to take 2 seconds to? Yeah.
Well, I just want to read this part. Alito's draft argues that rights protected by the Constitution, but not explicitly mentioned in it, so-called unenumerated rights, must be strongly rooted in U.S. history and tradition. That form of analysis seems at odds with several of the court's recent decisions, including gay rights. This is the concern about gay rights. Liberal justices seem likely to take issue with Alito's assertion in the draft that overturning Roe would not jeopardize other rights that the court has grounded in privacy, such as contraception, private consensual sexual activity, and the right to marry someone of the same sex. Alito writes, we emphasize that our decision concerns the constitutional right to abortion and no other right. Nothing in this opinion should be understood to cast doubt on precedents that do not concern abortion. So in this draft, Alito also then writes, women are not without electoral or political power. The percentage of women who register to vote and cast ballots is consistently higher than the percentage of men who do so. Basically, this is Alito saying, women have a right to vote. Women have a right to elect leaders who can change the law if they determine that they want to be able to legalize abortion. That's how Alito is interpreting things. And Alito, apparently in this draft, says this has nothing to do with anything else. This is just about abortion. Take it for what it is worth, folks.
Okay, I have a couple questions saved. Katie Starr says, can you talk about the undue burden portion of Roe v. Wade?
I need to...
All right, I'll ask another.
Yeah.
Lovely Ginger says, can Thomas be kicked out because of his wife?
No. The Senate would have to impeach him or something. That's not happening.
Okay, yeah.
Wait, I want to talk about undue burden because I just looked it up.
Yep.
A legal restriction posing an undue burden is one that, quote, has the purpose or effect of placing a substantial obstacle in the path of a woman seeking abortion of a non-viable fetus. An undue burden is found even where a state purports. So basically means significant difficulty or expense. Undue burden means significant difficulty or expense in determining whether an action would result in undue burden. A state has to consider all agency resources that are available to the program. So the undue burden test basically is the legal standard to determine whether an abortion restriction violates the Constitution. In this case, and this dates back to 1992, in this case, it's basically just removes all that stuff. And the court basically just says, ultimately, there is no right to privacy when it comes to abortion in the Constitution, and they're kicking it back to the states.
Jen KD says, has undue burden changed from 73 to now?
It changed. It appears that it came out of the 1992 Casey decision, which was an update to Roe v. Wade, which slightly updated Roe v. Wade.
Regan D says, okay, but isn't it also true that majority of women and majority of white women have been voting Republican, leading to this majority vote?
Yeah, I mean, well, let me distinguish there, Regan. A majority of white women have voted Republican in the past couple of elections. Majority of white women voted for Trump twice. And so, yeah, that's how the elections have gone in the past.
Jesse Chambers says, LOL, we can vote, but we can't decide what to do with our own uteruses. Okay, cool, thanks, got it. She also said, pretty sure dying due to an ectopic pregnancy is a pretty undue fucking burden. Ugh, I'm so upset. Sorry to curse, I hope you're not listening with your kids.
No. I'm getting these questions again. We were talking about this earlier, Amy, and others. Congress can pass a law making abortion legal. In fact, the House did that. The Senate doesn't have the votes. So if this is something you want the federal government to legalize, you need to ensure the Senate gains a few more Democrats this cycle and a filibuster-proof majority, which would be pretty wild, and nobody thinks that's going to happen. In fact, midterms right now are leaning Republican, at least until this decision. So it'll be very interesting to see how this goes down, how this shakes things up.
You were at the White House Correspondents' Dinner this weekend. Was there any talk about this and how things would play out in the elections?
Honestly, everyone has been kind of like waiting till the end of June for the decision. The fact that there's a leak on the Supreme Court, holy shit, guys, this is insane that the Supreme Court, here we go, Bernie Sanders tonight, new statement. He's a Democratic senator. Congress must pass legislation that codifies Roe v. Wade as the law of the land in this country now. And if there aren't 60 votes to do so, we must end the filibuster. Joe Manchin likes the filibuster. Kristen Sinema, Democrat from Arizona, likes the filibuster. In order to kill the filibuster, those two Democrats would have to decide to kill the filibuster. You also need 50 votes plus Kamala Harris to codify Roe v. Wade. Now, keep in mind, folks, now that this is a legislative issue, this is up to the states and the federal government. Should Republicans take the House or Senate, or you have a Republican president, and they decide you could have an issue where you see abortion now seesaws back and forth, at least federally and statewide in this country. And so you're going to see abortion laws change. You're going to see headlines regarding abortion laws now on a day-by-day basis in every state for the rest of time.
Oh, my goodness.
At least foreseeable future.
Leah says, so Leah's been watching you for how many years now? Like 2 years we've been doing this?
Yeah.
And she said she's never seen you so surprised.
Guys, this is crazy. That, like, I would say, like, January 6th is probably the only day that I've been in, like, shock of what's going on, like, invasion by people of the U.S. Congress. That doesn't happen. And so, hold on one second. Let me pull up this. Abortion would immediately become illegal in 13 states should this decision actually be the decision. End of June: Arkansas, Idaho, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, and Wyoming. Again, these 13 states, it would immediately become illegal to have an abortion. Arkansas, Idaho, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, and Wyoming. We have a leak on the Supreme Court. It's interesting because if you went back, Ruth Bader Ginsburg famously said, at the Supreme Court, those who know don't talk, and those who talk don't know. That is how secretive. Again, I'll say that again. This is RBG back in the day explaining never to believe leaks of the Supreme Court.
I want to record this so you can make it real.
So, as we're talking about this like crazy leak to the Supreme Court tonight, there's a famous statement from RBG back in the day who said, at the Supreme Court, those who know don't talk, and those who talk don't know. In this case, though, it appears the 60-page draft ruling written by Alito, that would overturn the precedent of Roe v. Wade, thereby kicking abortion to the states, appears to be a legitimate draft, and we are going to know in the next 7 weeks whether that is the case, and it's a 5-4 majority to overturn abortion.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Pentabulous says, can you explain how it's okay for states to pass laws about restricting people from leaving a state or helping someone leave a state?
Sorry, repeat that question one more time.
She said, or he,
yeah.
Can you explain how it's okay for states to pass laws about restricting people from leaving a state or helping someone leave a state?
So that's a whole state commerce clause thing, and courts would have to rule on that, whether you can pass a law that says here in Texas, if you're a Texan, you can't have abortion and you can't leave the state to have an abortion. Whether you're going to set up checkpoints and ask people what they're going to do in the other state. I don't see a reality where that's a thing. Falk says they probably can't. I agree with you, Ben Falk. Ben, what do you think about this? I haven't seen Falk's comment on this. You're a lawyer. What do you make of the fact that there was a leak from the Supreme Court tonight? It's a pretty remarkable thing.
Jenny Photo says Iowa is trying to change their constitution right now to make it illegal to have an abortion too.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be more than half the union. It'll probably be very limited or completely illegal to have an abortion, based on our states right now. Lissy says, "Isn't Texas trying to do that?" Yeah, Texas is trying to do a lot of things right now, and it'll be up to courts to decide whether Texas is overstepping in that way. But remember, everyone was asking me about like legislation on the states, and I'm like, listen, you elect your state legislatures. So, they go there. They try to pass laws. Sometimes those laws stay illegal. Sometimes those and are popular. Sometimes those laws are unpopular, and so you sue. You take it to court, and then judges rule: was that law constitutional or unconstitutional? And that's ultimately what's going to happen here. Paul is asking about Canada setting up abortion clinics on the border. I don't know what Canada's going to do. I know that most of the northern states, it would remain legal. Washington State, most of the Northeast. Minnesota's a question mark right now, but I imagine they're a blue majority. And then, of course, you have kind of North Dakota, Montana, Idaho. Is there a strategy to the leak? As we've been saying earlier, ultimately the strategy might be that somebody is so pissed off and willing to lose their job inside the Supreme Court because they want to see huge activity and protests and chaos in this country over it, and hope that over the next 7 weeks, if the justices, the 5 presumably, who are in the majority right now, see that, they might change their opinion. And again, justices take multiple votes through the draft opinions. And so anything could change between now and June, but this is not surprising based on what we saw from the arguments in December.
Please thank everybody who's buying badges.
Thanks to all of you who are buying badges at the bottom of the screen and supporting this account. Just trying to provide you guys perspective on what's going on tonight. Definitely did not expect. It's funny, we had like Met Gala pictures prepared to begin the show tonight.
Who cares?
And it's like, well, this is like the future of our country, and is a huge we talk about overturning precedent, but like this is where were you the night of April 2nd when you found out this information that it appears a initial draft opinion of a majority of the Supreme Court, 5 members of the 9-member court. Now remember, one of the things that could happen here, I'm just trying to follow. Let me refresh Twitter right now because it's just a lot happening.
Someone asked if the mushroom is real. Yes, Moshe I call him Plant Daddy Mo. He has a green thumb. He takes care of all of our plants. It is from Bloomscape. And it really is thriving.
I'm trying to see, like, what else do we have here?
Let me still talk about the plant belt while you do your research.
About the plant?
So, everyone asked about our plants, and to credit to Mo, he is a news guy, but he's also a plant guy. Reminder for everybody, speaking of plants, get your plants for Mother's Day.
Get your mom something nice for Sunday,
nice,
for Mother's Day.
Make sure to place your orders now because things get crazy if you call the day before.
So interesting. I'm watching clips from Fox News right now. They're calling this an insurrection against the Supreme Court. That the person who leaked this is someone presumably paid for by a taxpayer, and they're calling this an insurrection against the Supreme Court because presumably this person has leaked it early with hopes that it could shift the court based on the public reaction to all of this. So we're dealing with multiple things here tonight, guys, as we kind of approach 10 p.m. We've been talking about this for a little over an hour.
If they don't put you on CNN or MSNBC, like, you are so good at this. Just as your wife, just sitting here, like, even if I'm not your wife, like, say I'm just a Joe Schmo.
Wait, why aren't you my wife?
Just say I'm just a Joe Schmo.
Oh, if you weren't my wife.
If I was a Joe Schmo, like, I
got scared there, folks. My wife's sitting right.
You are you're just so good at live coverage.
Spent many years in live coverage and learned from some of the best. One of the things, we're monitoring multiple headlines tonight, right, guys? The Met Gala is taking place. No, I'm kidding. We have a leak from the Supreme Court tonight of a draft ruling. A 5-member majority appears that they believe the Supreme Court has no jurisdiction and should be out of the abortion situation. They're going to overturn the precedent of Roe V Wade. You're going to see shorthand in the coming days. Overturn Roe V Wade, overturn Roe V Wade. My good friend Sharon Says So would tell you can't overturn a decision. You can overturn a precedent. But many of us in the media, we like shorthand, and they just say overturn it. And so you're going to hear that a lot. And the governors of Sharon Says So will tell you, well, that's technically not true, and you're right, but people like shorthand. So what we see is a draft, and now what is crazy is we don't get drafts from the Supreme Court. Things don't leak from that place. So we have a leak from the Supreme Court, and how are they going to handle that? And not only is it a leak...
This is a real too, Mo. This is a real.
And so Alex is like literally recording me talking to you, etc. So like two major things we're following tonight. One, a leak from the Supreme Court. We never get leaks of a draft of a decision. That in and of itself is a bombshell thing. The second thing is that the decision that was leaked, at least a draft decision, is overturning the precedent of Roe V Wade, which has been the law in this country for 49 years. The Supreme Court basically declaring, we're out, every state for themselves, Congress for itself, you guys decide abortion, we're done with this whole thing. So the leak in and of itself is remarkable, as is the decision that was leaked, or the draft decision that was leaked, the draft opinion. And so we'll see how this all unfolds.
I think that you need to do something with Sharon this week about this.
Yeah, we should talk to Sharon.
Absolutely. And someone says, seems like a solid polo. I assume that Adam is talking about...
Oh, this polo shirt?
Yeah. Buck Mason, you guys.
You like this polo shirt?
Buck Mason
Alex got it.
Is the best.
This is pretty wild. I was reading Neil Katyal's tweets earlier, guys. He's somebody to follow on Twitter as well for good analysis. Let's see. When you see Republican consultants lamenting the end of Roe, you might understand how the party decided to go with Trump. This is one of the things that a lot of Republicans would tell you, that Republicans who didn't like Trump went with Trump because of this, because they believed in a conservative Supreme Court and overturning of Roe v. Wade. And it appears that one of Trump's most lasting impacts on this country was this Supreme Court and this decision.
Do you want to text Sharon right now and see if she'll jump on with you?
Is Sharon on tonight? Supposed to have a call with her tomorrow, actually.
Let's see if she's on tonight.
I don't know. She is at, she's in Central Time. So,
do you want me to DM? I mean, you DM her because you're...
Let's see, do I have...
Or just text her.
Hold on, I can email her. Sharon.
Okay, while you're doing that...
Hi, are you able to join?
Adam said, can you grow a beard in a day? Pretty much, yeah. He gets...
Right here, I get it a lot. People wonder it's a goatee, but then this part takes longer, and so that's the thing.
She's posting story updates, so she'll probably be... Yeah.
Let's see if she checks her...
She probably won't. You have her number, right?
Do I have her number?
Just DM her.
Well, I have her email.
You can DM her from your computer.
I've done Zoom with her. Anyway, we'll see if she comes on. I just emailed her, but
oh, geez, Ben Fuck, that's a little
what?
Low. He said, "How many more kids would Trump have if abortion was illegal?"
Yeah, Ben Fuck with the
spectacular ass if you're Sephardic. Yes, he is. His dad is from Morocco.
Yeah, my dad's a Moroccan Jew. Let's see. What was I going to say? Somebody said here, and I want to get to it because we talked about it earlier. Yep. Why should we not worry about gay interracial marriage? Based on this draft, ultimately, it does not appear... literally, Alito says in the draft multiple times, this doesn't have to do with anything else. This is only about abortion. Take it for what it's worth. Let's see. Let's see if I do this. If she wants to join. Sharon says, invite. She wants to join. If not, we'll do something in the coming days, folks, to talk about what is transpiring here. I appreciate all of you tuning in tonight. Jailene is asking the question of the night. Has there ever been a Supreme Court decision leaked before? I have not seen a leak legitimate from the Supreme Court for a very long time. Now, again, the concern is this a fake leak? Is this whatever? This appears real, folks. It's a draft. It's a draft. No ruling has been made. And so I want all of you to keep that in mind tonight, that the ruling does not come till the end of June. There are multiple drafts that circulate. Now, that doesn't mean that a decision could change or that one of the justices changed their opinions, but it also means that one of them could. And I wouldn't hang your hopes on it if you're, pro-choice tonight. It says she's got an alert. Sharon's unable to join right now. She's probably working on her stories. Oh, yeah, we'll do something. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, we'll see what goes down here. what else? I'm trying to read tweets as we go here. Chief Justice Roberts should be on notice that the left is undermining the court to save abortion. So this is a conservative analyst named Eric Erickson tweets tonight. Chief Justice Roberts should be on notice that the left is undermining the court to save abortion. He might as well go with his heart and end it to stop the court's politicization and also teach the lesson to a leaker. A lot of conservatives tonight also really pissed that somebody has leaked this. That leaks don't happen in the court, and this is sort of like Supreme Court turning into Congress or the White House, where leaks are suddenly happening for political purposes. And so that's a fascinating thing. So again, as I was saying earlier, you have two major things tonight. You have the leak itself and who is behind the leak, and somebody who is willing to literally lose their job and face potential prosecution over said leak. And then you have the decision itself, which again is a draft decision, which has not been finalized yet. So that's what we know. What else? Joe Manchin, by the way, it should be noted, is pro-life and will not scrap the filibuster for abortion. Remember, there's 50 Democrats right now. One of them is Joe Manchin, who's pro-life. So if you're looking for the federal government to legalize abortion, you need to add Democrats to the Senate this fall, and not just hold the status quo, which is going to be a huge challenge given the polling you're seeing about Joe Biden, about candidates, etc. Anyway, go ahead, Al.
Sweet Haven Design LV says, is the leak illegal? Whatever you believe should be done. It's super disappointing that it's happening at the Supreme Court.
I got to look into I mean, of course, I don't know whether it's illegal. It's definitely unethical. It's definitely a fireable offense within the Supreme Court. And so I don't know whether they can prosecute the person for leaking, but I have to, guys, this is so fresh tonight that I'd have to look at the Supreme Court rules and see what the coverage is there. I will tell you this, Falk, you noted that Bob Casey's another Democrat. So basically we have 48, so you look at the Senate, there's 50 Democrats, 50 Republicans. Of those 50 Democrats, 2 say they're pro-life, Joe Manchin, Bob Casey. So Bob Casey.
They're saying the audio's off. Why don't you take off your
Oh, should I? These guys?
Maybe you don't need them.
Okay. Right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Without the AirPods?
They think adding someone might have messed it. Yeah.
Adding what?
Yeah, because you requested the live, they were thinking maybe that happened.
Oh, can you hear me now? Do you hear me? Yes? No? Yes? Did we just lose all that?
I don't know.
Oh, it got all glitchy when you tried.
Better.
Great.
Right.
All right, awesome. See, when you mess with these IG lives, we got to tell the folks at Instagram, like, you mess with it, and then suddenly it gets like if you get a phone call or something.
Amazing. Now maybe you don't need to. It's just better now than it ever was. Like maybe you don't need to have those headphones in.
Oh, maybe I don't need to go with the AirPods.
Yes.
A lot of hearts. A lot of hearts.
Yeah.
Okay, no more AirPods. No more AirPods. I thought the audio was better with the AirPods. Now we know. So anyway, what I was trying to say, Ben, is you have 2 of the 50 Democrats in the Senate are pro-life, though Bob Casey has become a reliable vote in recent years for abortion rights. He actually scores a 100% on NARAL's Pro-Choice America's vote tally in 2016 and 2017. Whether he would, though, go and overturn the filibuster to legalize abortion would be a whole nother thing. So anyway, but yeah, if you're a Democrat, you need to bring in at least hold to 50 plus add 2 Democrats in the fall in order to be able to legalize abortion. And then even then, they would have to kill the filibuster, which, again, is going to be a huge thing. When was Bob Casey elected, by the way? He ends in 2025. So you have both him and Manchin in there for a while.
Apparently the video is a little glitchy.
Anyway. Sorry if the video is glitchy. We've been going for an hour 20 here, so maybe we end this now, and I'll try to come back in a little bit with some more stuff. I should be posting some stuff about all of this anyway. This is pretty remarkable. But guys, I appreciate you sticking with me tonight. Paige, I'll just explain the filibuster. Basically, the filibuster is a rule in the U.S. Senate. Over time, it's changed, but basically, it's a threshold by which you need a certain number of senators in order to vote on legislation. Right now, the filibuster, it's been around for 200 plus years. 60 votes. That's the rule. It used to be higher. You need 60 senators to agree in order for them to send something to a vote. So basically, you need 60 out of 100 to agree to vote on something, and then they take a vote. And if you have 50-50 in this case, which is the Senate, Kamala Harris can break that vote, or 51-49, you can have a majority vote. But you basically, to get a bill to a vote, you need 60 senators to agree. Now, some type of legislation, including Supreme Court nominations, do not require a filibuster. The rules change over time, and they've taken the filibuster away over time. It's a weird Senate rule that's been around for 200 years. You can thank former Vice President Aaron Burr for the filibuster rule. He was bored after shooting Hamilton. He was the president of the Senate, as the VP was. Jefferson was like, yo, dude, you were a VP and you like killed Hamilton. Like, I don't need you. And so Burr was sitting around rewriting Senate rules and accidentally created the filibuster. There's your filibuster history, folks.
Wow, Mo, you good. They gotta get you on one of these networks because, like, for example, Ashley just said, "Please come back. I don't want to watch the networks."
Yeah. Like, all you want to switch to, yeah. Like right now, it's funny. I'm like refreshing Twitter. Let's see what's happening right now.
Hillary says, "Thank you for doing a live. I hopped onto your page as soon as I heard the news."
Yeah. A person called. Now people are trying to find the leaker on Twitter, which is like crazy. They're like naming clerks on Twitter. I mean, listen, it's really, it's really seismic what took place here. Andy McCarthy, who is a National Review fellow, this conservative, says if the story, this is a conservative opinion here, folks, if the story is true, the court should issue its opinion right away. Otherwise, the disgraceful leak wins. I would say that if my side lost, if we lose the integrity of the court's process, we lose the court. That should be intolerable to all of us who live in this country. The fact that basically what they're saying is the court has a process and it's involved no leaks. And conservatives are like, basically, we know why somebody leaked this. It is to piss people off about this and create such protests in the streets that the court then changes its decision. That's the goal of the leak, presumably. And conservatives are concerned that, like, that means that if we have, unrest in the streets over abortion in the coming weeks, that court will change its opinion, and then the leak will be purposeful, and then you'll create a situation where you'll see more leaks. Falk says, unless it was Alito. Falk, what's the rationale behind Alito being the leaker here? Why would Alito leak his own draft opinion? To test it?
Soraya says, so crazy. Thanks to whoever leaked that. We all owe them some Venmo money.
You can Venmo at the following account. No, I mean, listen, here are the theories. Someone on the liberal side of the court, a clerk or somebody who just found out about it, leaked it to create that. Another thing, conservative leaked it because they want to test America on this and see how it reacts. I only say that because of the following. So this takes me back to many. Go ahead.
Helix says barricades are up around the Supreme Court building just minutes after reports from Politico were leaked indicating SCOTUS has voted to overturn.
Wait, this is somebody who's at the Supreme Court?
This is just somebody on your comments right now.
So here, I see a reporter from the DC Examiner tweeted barricades. The question I have is, were the barricades up before the, were they, like, so I know you were seeing that on Twitter that barricades went up. The question is, did the barricades go up before or after? Supreme Court barricades have been set up by order of the Supreme Court Marshal, they say. 2 police officers are standing watch as a crowd of 50 has gathered, most sitting quietly with candles.
To be at least
yeah. So it does appear the barricades have gone up. It's pretty remarkable. There we go, right after the Politico article. Yeah, because usually you can walk up the steps a little bit and take photos there at the Supreme Court in D.C., which is right across from the U.S. Capitol. So that's the scene out there tonight. Again, it's pretty remarkable how this will unfold, if protests will happen, how they're going to deal with the leaker, and
what do you think they'll do?
The goal? I don't know. They have to figure out who did this and what their goal was. It takes me back to politics. It's so interesting, Al, like, different example, but like politicians leak, White Houses leak all the time to get a sense of public opinion. They'll leak something either they're going to do or something similar to what they're going to do to see how people react.
Like running mates, for example. Too.
Correct. Like a famous example is leaking running mates if you're running for president. So for example, when I was covering the McCain campaign in 2008, they leaked, he wanted to select Joe Lieberman as his VP. He was obsessed with Joe Lieberman. He wanted a Democrat as his VP to show unity. And so they couldn't leak. He was thinking about Lieberman, but his advisors leaked Tom Ridge, former governor of Pennsylvania, DHS secretary. Why did they leak Tom Ridge? The McCain campaign leaks Tom Ridge to get reaction from Republicans to a pro-choice Republican. Republicans were outraged. A lot of Republicans were outraged. There was a whole thing. And they went back to McCain a couple days later. They're like, see, like, they won't let you have Tom Ridge. They're so pissed about a pro-choice Republican. Dispense with the idea of Joe Lieberman. And at that point, McCain was like, fuck it. If I can't have Joe Lieberman, you guys figure it out. And they come to him. And they're like, we have Mitt Romney. We have Tim Pawlenty, governor of Minnesota. And we have Sarah Palin. And we know how that ended. But that is a strategic leak. And so, you know, there's conspiracy theorists who could say that anyone on the conservative side, you can name rationale. In this case, you would think the assumption is that someone on the liberal side might have leaked this. But again, nobody knows at this moment who leaked it and what their goal was.
Pentabulous says, who investigates the leak?
The Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has its own security service. Actually, our friend Eric Hanna served on it for a while.
Oh, yeah, Eric.
And I imagine someone's calling IT department of the Supreme Court. Check the emails right now.
Want to come on or do it?
Oh, Eric.
Yeah.
Anyway, what presumably they're going to conduct an own internal investigation. They might have. I don't know, folks. Usually, I know the answer to things. And what's so crazy is I've never seen anything like this before.
So right now, as Moshe, what channel should I be putting on? You want to see Fox? You want to see?
We'll flip around. What do you have here? We'll keep MS on for a second, and then we'll flip over to Fox. I'm watching Fox right now on the Twitter account. Is it against the law to leak? It's unethical and defiable. I don't know whether it's against the law to leak country MFC. I don't know what law you're breaking by leaking, but I'd have to see what it'll come out in coming days what the policy is about leaking. I mean, the Supreme Court never leaks, so do they even have a rule against leaking? You just assume there's a code of ethics that you uphold that you don't leak. It's like a lot of companies don't leak stuff to the media about what's happening inside the company. It's not illegal to leak stuff, but it's unethical and fireable, right? So very interesting to see how savvy the leaker was about how they got the thing out of there. I mean, remember, some leaks, you don't find out who the leaker is for years. If they cover their tracks, good enough. And so, we'll see. I mean, people have their various opinions about the leaker. Some people believe it's insurrection, and S. Miller believes it was a national hero who leaked. So everyone has different opinions tonight. But yeah, the barricades are up outside the Supreme Court, seeing multiple pictures. What else do we have here?
What can Americans do to act on this, says Vanessa?
Well, depending on how you feel about this, we have a First Amendment. You have a right to assembly. You have a right to free speech. Say your piece.
Neil is speaking on MSNBC.
Neil Katyal?
Yeah, but I can't get the subtitles out.
Just turn up the volume.
Just a few years ago, that's obviously been a target of the conservatives. And if they can overrule this case, Roe versus Wade, which is kind of the most super precedent case ever. It's the case that 3 Republican justices in 1992, Kennedy, O'Connor, and Souter, said that's the case that social expectations had crystallized around Roe versus Wade. And so even if it were wrong, you can't overrule it because it would damage the court's legitimacy. They did it here. So if they can do it here, unfortunately, they can do it anywhere.
So that's Katyal's opinion there, is that he's concerned on other precedent that can be overturned. Again, Alito in one of the drafts says he wouldn't do it to other stuff. There's different rationale behind it. Ben says this is copyright violation. I don't know, Ben. It's Instagram Live, my friend. Anyway.
It's the wild, wild west.
It's the wild west. Jay's Shay, I don't believe Biden can do an executive order legalizing abortion. It's way too big to be done via executive order. And the place where it would need to be done is state legislatures or Congress, as far as abortion is concerned.
Someone just asked if you're 100% sure this is authentic.
Nothing's 100% sure. I mean, you would presume, given the reaction we've already seen so far, that if this Politico put out the story, Politico probably would have called the Supreme Court. Politico called the Supreme Court for comment. The Supreme Court would have said it's fake if it's fake. The fact that they're not saying it's fake and they're not commenting means it's real.
Magic Mike says, I think the leak came from Hunter Biden's laptop.
Hunter Biden's laptop. Way to make it go full circle.
And then Jay-Z Shea, which is Alyssa's cousin, says, Moshe, can Biden do an executive order legalizing abortion?
No, yeah, we just talked about that. That is not going to be the case. Mark Felt. Yes, Mark Felt was a famous leaker. It took many, many years for us to learn the identity of Mark Felt. He is the famous leaker who gave the information to, he was Deep Throat, who gave Woodward and Bernstein their information. It would take us many, many years to learn Felt's identity.
Alex Doniger says, can you give an overview of how each judge is voting?
So right now, based on this draft, and I need to get reading on this, guys, is Alito, Thomas, Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, Barrett, the 5 conservatives there, appear to be in the majority opinion. Roberts does not appear to be with them, though he's a conservative, appointed by Bush 43. And then the 3 liberals presumably would be against this. Breyer, what we got? Breyer, Sotomayor, and Kagan.
I just want to say that if you're not subscribed to Moshe's newsletter, now is a good time because Wednesday you're going to do a huge deep dive on this.
Wednesday, or try to put something out tomorrow, but we'll see. Definitely for Wednesday.
So how do people sign up so I can put it?
Just go to monews.bulletin.com to subscribe to the newsletter, and we'll be diving deep into this. This is pretty remarkable stuff, folks. Anyway, I appreciate you guys sticking with me tonight. I'm going to keep watching coverage on all the networks and on Twitter. And thanks to all of you about badges tonight. Thanks to all of you who stuck around with me. I hope I was able to provide some insight and perspective to you guys tonight. And appreciate Kim Art Designs. Definitely pay for premium Moshe. It's worth it. Thank you, Kim Art Designs. And I'll be up for a while going through all of this. And please, if you guys see interesting, have questions, etc., please DM me.
Will you just put up Hillary Clinton at the Met Gala?
Why?
Or Kim wore Marilyn Monroe, where she sang "Happy Birthday."
Here we go. Here's Kim Kardashian. Then we have Blake Lively got a lot of attention for this dress because it changes colors, inspired by the Statue of Liberty. Here we go.
And also other places in New York, like the Empire State Building.
And then this is Billie Eilish. And then this is here, Hillary Clinton. For the first time in 21 years, she's back on the Met Gala red carpet. All right. Those were some of the photos we had prepared for you earlier. Blake was amazing, folks say. Yeah, people like that. Though at the same time the red carpet was happening, we were learning what is one of the biggest bombshells in media history as far as leaks are concerned. A leak from the Supreme Court is concerned. A leak regarding the Roe v. Wade potential overturning of the precedent is concerned. Wow. It's been a remarkable thing. I'm going to keep you guys up to date. Thank you all for joining me. And presumably I'll do one of these tomorrow too, I think, to do some of this fallout.
Yeah. We'll do a live.
And we'll figure it out tomorrow night. All right, guys. Thank you for sticking with me. And we will